Hi, Donovan Woods here.
Hey, it's me, Tom Power.
We're here to tell you about our brand new podcast. It's called The Big Five.
So, Donovan, what is The Big Five?
Yeah, exactly. What is The Big Five? That's what The Big Five is all about. Every week, Tom and I will sit down with a special guest and dive into new topics, debating things like, what are the Big Five farm animals? The Big Five types of hat? The Big Five guys named Paul?
Martin, Revere, Mezcal, McCartney, John Paul II.
The debate is settled by a listener from somewhere across the country. It's like a game show.
It is a game show.
The Big Five, available now wherever you get your podcasts.
Keep your wellness routine going strong all summer. Kachava's new travel packs help you stick to your daily ritual even when you're on the go. Just one packet of Kachava's all-in-one nutrition shake provides complete nutrition wherever you are, with 25 grams of protein, 6 grams of fiber, greens, adaptogens, and more. Simplify your daily ritual. Go to kachava.com and use code NEWS for 15% off. That's KACHAVA.com, code NEWS.
Frequency Podcast Network. Stories that matter, podcasts that resonate.
He's in the building!
Drink the moment. Drink it.
I said empty your mind.
Coquettish and coy. Ow. Ow.
What?
And there's people that are dying.
The wickedly talented.
More than great. It was historic.
Crack is
What?
Oh, good for you.
I have to apologize.
One of the hottest.
Hello, and welcome back to The Reheat, a podcast that reexamines the spiciest celebrity news and scandals of yesteryear and asks, how would we react to the same events if they transpired today? I'm Sadaf Hassan.
And I'm Sarah Sahagian, and this week we will be discussing a singular 2010s trend, Hathaway. That's right, the decade when everyone hated Anne Hathaway because she, well, tried too hard. To help us with this deep dive is the fabulous Alex Sujong Laughlin, co-owner of Defector Media and the host of the podcast Try Hard. She's also the co-creator of our beloved Normal Gossip. Welcome to the show, Alex.
Thank you so much for having me. I am so excited to talk about our Lord and Savior, Anne Hathaway.
We couldn't be happier to have you. This is a topic that's been on my and Sarah's minds for literal years.
Oh,
so
amazing.
Thank you, Alex. You are with friends and allies.
So I have to ask Sadaf and Alex, what are your thoughts on Annie? So I know that, Alex, she is very dear to you. And I've decided we're all friends now. So we're going to call Annie. That's what her friends call her. And in this parasocial sense, we're going to discuss what she means to us, who she is to us, why we care about her.
Alex, hit us. You start.
Well, I mean, I think you cannot think of Annie, our friend Annie, without thinking of all of the ways that she has been maligned over the last decade. I feel like you can't even say Anne Hathaway without a little bit of a sneer coming in. It's like it's almost an insult on its own,
Oof.
Just divorced of any context. And that is really painful for me. I mean, my primary associations with Anne Hathaway, which I know we'll talk about, are Princess Diaries, Ella Enchanted, weirdly.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and The Devil Wears Prada. These are my favorite roles of hers. She's really cemented into my adolescent memory as the ideal girl, just the coolest, but not too cool, and very real, and has a secret talent. And so, yeah, it's been fascinating to watch the rise of Hathaway and then the way that the tide has kind of turned on her back to a positive sentiment over the last couple of years.
I could not co-sign all of that more. I feel exactly all of it. I love this woman deeply, as if she is a neighbor of mine, since childhood. I can't explain it. There's something about her that just feels very familiar, like somebody you would have known. I got a second. Devil Wears Prada, of course. I mean, that's iconic for all of us, but also Princess Diaries was huge when I was younger.
Oh.
Although, may I say, the glow up was not necessary. That was not a glow up. She was gorgeous before and after.
They just straightened her hair.
Yes, thank
The
you.
curls were considered quote unquote ugly at that time. This is how bleak the world was, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you had curls, you were plain. Anyway, sorry to interrupt.
Mind you, no, I appreciate the interruption because her curls were gorgeous in Love
I
and
know,
Other
she
Drugs.
looks great.
But yeah, also quick favorite that I think is so underrated is Rachel getting married that I loved so much. But yeah, I got to go with you, Alex, on all of that. I think that she's just been so maligned and it's just so unfair. Sarah, how have you felt about her all this time? I know you're very passionate about her.
I've always felt she was kind of like Rory Gilmore on film, right? And I think that it
For
was
better
sort of,
and worse.
Exactly. And to be fair, actually, Rory Gilmore, I do actually have some problems with that character. I never had problems with Annie because I actually felt she did put in effort. And I like that. I like that she's hardworking. I like that she cares. I very much identified with her because I would say at that time when I learned who she was, I was in high school. And I definitely identified as a girl who was smart, but also really tried hard and worked hard. And she was someone who really seemed to take pride in doing a good job and putting an effort, right? She wasn't afraid to admit that she tried. There was this weird streak at this time where you couldn't admit that you were trying. You're supposed to be perfect without effort. And I would say that kind of peaked with the image of Jennifer Lawrence, and we'll talk about that later, which I don't think is fair to put on Jennifer Lawrence because I think actually the woman always did try. We just pretended she didn't try.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I think she always did work hard. So I always appreciated her and felt like we could be friends if we met, which is probably not true. We probably couldn't be friends because I don't think she's mean enough for me. I don't think she'd gossip with me. I don't think she has a mean opinion about pretty much anyone. I think she's just a lovely human and I think she wouldn't like me. But that's okay.
I'm going to go with you on that. I feel the same way. But yeah, we love you, Anne, still.
We love you. Yeah, exactly. Before we get too far into this episode, let's talk about Annie's origin story. So Annie was born on November 12th, 1982. So yes, we are recording on her birthday.
Scorpio
Happy
queen.
birthday, Annie.
Honestly,
know.
that gives her some edge that is unexpected. And I am into it as a fellow Scorpio.
Happy birthday, Annie.
Okay.
It's your birthday month too. Happy birthday to you, Alex.
Thank you.
Strong Scorpio energy in the room. Okay.
I love this.
Look out.
I love this. So Annie grew up in both Brooklyn and Millburn, New Jersey. She was raised by George, a labor lawyer, and Kate, an actress. Annie's love of acting was ignited at the tender age of 6 as she watched her mother portray Fantine in Les Mis. Yes, the role for which Annie herself would one day win an Oscar. I love that origin story. I love it.
Beautiful.
And fun fact, she was originally brought up in the Catholic faith. At one point, she even wanted to be a nun, which like actually being a nun seems cool, right?
Yeah.
Because as a little kid, you're like, I just live in a house with all of my female besties.
Yeah,
like, sign me up.
Every interesting woman has thought about being a nun at some point.
Genuinely.
Sounds great, right?
It's very chic. I kind of love it.
Yeah. Uniform, like.
I know.
Gorgeous.
So it wasn't an entirely smooth childhood for Annie. In 2017, she told ABC's Peter Travers that she suffered from self-loathing while growing up. She said, quote, I disliked myself so intensely. It was just a mindset. I didn't know how to love myself. I didn't know how to love anybody. Perhaps this self-hatred is what sparked Annie's need to prove herself, possibly in an effort to please others. At Millburn High School, she was a well-rounded student who was on the soccer team. She also explored her love of drama, performing in plays like Once Upon a Mattress. In overachieving theater kid fashion, Annie, of course, became the first teenager ever to be accepted into New York's prestigious Barrow Theater Company. And when it came time to apply to college, she secured admission to the selective Vassar University before later transferring to New York University, which is when her career took off. So guys, does Annie's early life as a prodigious theater kid mean she was destined to be hated on for trying so hard later in life?
Yes. Yes. Also, did not realize she was such an intense theater kid, like from the moment go. This is wild.
Yeah.
This is who she is.
Born
Of
into
course.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there are a few combinations more apt for try-hard energy than theater kid and self-loathing. That is, wow, danger zone. I don't relate to that at all. Not at all.
Throw in the Scorpio and it's a mad mix. My God. I mean, but you're right. It was in her DNA. She grew up seeing her mom do this. Like, it's kind of wonderful and beautiful and meant to be, but also breaks my heart even more.
Yeah.
Ugh. And for the record, I love people who put effort in. Like, that's what I do. That's what we do.
Yes.
And so I find that very sad that that's frowned upon.
You know, I did theater when I was growing up, and then I kind of stopped. And then I actually did a play earlier this year for the first time in like legit 20 years.
Yay.
And it was so wonderful. It was such a great experience. But it was fascinating to enter that world as a fully formed adult with like my whole brain and my sense of identity and self that I was like bringing into the room. Because when you do theater, have either of you done theater?
Yeah, I was a big theater kid myself, which I have repressed, by the way. I forgot.
But like you have to, when you like go into that space, you have to like really let down a lot of walls, relational walls. It's a context in which the only way you can make the art is by dropping all pretenses and throwing yourself into the thing. That's the only way you can do it in a way that's like true and authentic to the medium. That is a thing that tends to not travel well with normies.
Yeah, that's true.
It's true. And I mean, theater kids are really intense because theater requires a lot of work, right? You can't do theater unless you go to the rehearsals. Anytime you do something that requires you to put in that much effort, of course, you're going to become just so obsessed with it because that's the only way to survive, right? And that's why theater kids love theater, right? And Annie is definitely a theater kid. I love it. But also, I mean, I'm so impressed at how good she was from a young age. I mean, was the first teen to get into the Barrow Theater Company. That shows that she had a lot of talent and really was determined from a young age. I also think it's just funny that even though she was clearly a theater kid, she was on the soccer team because in that era, we really emphasized that women needed to be well-rounded. There was this obsession with well-roundedness. I'm like, you're such an elder millennial. Like, I'm still going to prove I can be an athlete even though I don't really care about it. I'm putting that on Annie. I'm just assuming that she didn't really care about it. Maybe she did.
I bet she was like so good, actually. Like, she just strikes me as someone who is like very good at soccer.
100% look great in her soccer uniform, curls flying. I love the whole image.
Oh, sounds just divine. She should be in a soccer movie. Have her play like somebody who had an injury on the field and now she's become a coach and she gets a second chance and coaches some younger person who has demons. This is a movie that I would pay a lot of money to see.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you. Yes.
So as it turns out, Annie never would graduate from university. This is something she's actually brought up in interviews. I remember once reading an interview with her that I actually couldn't find. So, I mean, maybe I dreamt it, but I don't think I did, where she was saying that she felt Natalie Portman was more interesting than her because Natalie finished university, which I just feel like that's such a try hard thing to say. Be like, I've made all these movies. I'm an accomplished actress, but I just focus on the things I didn't do, right? So after The Princess Diaries was released in 2001, Annie definitely became a star. She described landing the title role in Gary Marshall's iconic movie as the day that dreams came true, which is sweet and earnest, as Annie always is. However, my personal favorite is still Ella Enchanted. And Alex, you mentioned that has a place in your heart. I was way too old to see it. I think I was in my last year of high school. And my sister was also in high school. And we still made our mother take us. My mom was like, I thought I was done with these movies. I have to take you to see this. She was so upset. I love that movie. I always think of that scene where she's been cursed essentially to kill Hugh Dancy. And she just says, I will not obey. I will not obey. Such a great meme for resisting the patriarchy.
So beautiful.
She also, and her performance is so deep and serious.
So
I feel like this is like a baby Streep in the moment. Even for a movie like Ella Enchanted, she took it so wonderfully and seriously.
And she gets to sing.
Yeah.
And her singing is great. She's
first of
queen.
many singing roles. Huge.
Yeah.
Very good.
So even after she peaked, in my opinion, with Ella Enchanted, no, I'm joking. I love you. Your work has always been great. But she was in Ella Enchanted, a retelling of the Cinderella story. So she played a lot of princesses early on, right? She also did The Princess Diaries 2, which was released in 2001. That saw Annie's character, Princess Mia, become engaged to Chris Pine. So good job. Good looking couple. Well, it was a character played by Chris Pine, but it was basically Chris Pine that she became engaged to, let's face it. So Annie had an early era of playing pretty princesses who also worked hard to accomplish their goals. So in short, perfectionistic women, right? They were women who had a lot of opportunities and always put the effort in, right? It was like that saying your guidance counselor would always tell you when you're in high school, luck is when preparation meets opportunity, right? And Annie was like, I'm prepared, always prepared, right? Exactly. Princess Mia is gorgeous and well-spoken, but she also needs to work diligently to get there, right, with her grandmother, played by Julie Andrews. She has princess lessons before she arrives at the point of being the chic young woman. So do we think that these early roles gave Annie the foundation of what would become her try-hard, perfectionistic image?
I definitely think so. I think that if she had mixed in a real wacky role in those first few years when she became famous, I wonder if this image would have stuck so completely to her. There's also a part of me that's like, it is just who she is. It's just who she is. And so like, what role could have changed that? Like, she was perfect for these roles because that's who she was.
But isn't that funny that she was playing herself and she was playing royalty? Like, incredible. My God. Isn't it interesting as well, the way people get so quickly typecast? And I feel like women especially tend to get typecast like in a second. And for her to have that, because she was playing a series of women who were princesses or princess-like, is so fascinating to me that people could only see her in that way. But I agree, she was probably gravitating towards roles that felt like herself, which makes so much sense to me.
Mm-hmm. It was also in the early 2000s. And so it's not like there was a ton of range for the roles that women could play in these big mainstream movies.
Absolutely. Another hero of ours, Katherine Heigl, has reflected on that, right? Where she, not long after this period, was in Knocked Up, right? And so if you wanted to do comedy as a woman, you had to play like the shrew, right? And she came under a lot of fire for saying that. People said that she was ungrateful. But lo and behold, years later, everyone's like, yeah, Judd Apatow's movies were really sexist.
Yes. Yes. It's
These
always
women were
the hot shrew.
Exactly. Hot shrew.
Yeah.
You have to be hot, but you're also a shrew.
Kind of love that. I would love to play that. Let me also just say, though, she really cornered her audience. Like, she stuck with the same viewers, demographically us, maybe a little younger too. And it's smart because I think we've stayed, well, most of us have stayed quite dedicated. I know you're going to get into it, Sarah, but I think it was really smart. She knew who was watching her movies and liked her.
I think that she had good representation. I think they knew how to build a career that she could have forever. One thing that impressed me about her early years is she didn't overexpose herself either. She did play one type of role that people wanted from her, but she didn't get overexposed, which is the thing that Anna Kendrick, who I actually think is quite similar. I think she's the most similar of all of our celebrities to Anne Hathaway. I think they're quite similar, and they're almost the same age. They're both millennial women. Anna Kendrick's representation was very much, if you want to work forever, you can't get overexposed. You have to do this very carefully.
You know, the other person I'm thinking of is Emma Watson.
Yes.
She feels very similar as well. And I think that's also a similar thing where she's only taken on a handful of roles.
Yeah. And all three of them definitely have that studious vibe. Though, might I add, I cannot stand Anna Kendrick. But that's a whole other thing.
I mean, fair enough. It's funny, though, when Ethan plays a role, because they can both sing and they both play very hardworking brunettes, you're like, you could swap roles and you could probably accomplish this. Like you know, Anna probably could have been in The Devil Wears Prada. Annie would have killed it in A Simple Favor, right? Like they could always swap roles with each other, I think.
Now I want to see that. I would love that. Fascinating.
Anyway, that's just my theory. Anyway, Annie's life undeniably changed and took her to the next level when she scored the coveted role of Andy Sachs in the film adaptation of Lauren Weisenberg's semi-autographical novel, The Devil Wears Prada. Annie has Rachel McAdams to thank, who was the top choice for the role and turned it down several times, which is interesting. And I actually think Rachel McAdams could have killed it also, but she didn't want to do it.
I want to see that too. There's so many things I want to see Rachel in. Yeah.
In the film, Annie portrays a hardworking assistant who doesn't initially fit in at the fashion magazine where she finds her first post-grad gig, but with a combination of humility and grit and some good fashion advice, she becomes the sort of impressive professional her boss, Miranda Priestley, played by Meryl Streep, respects. While she didn't get an Oscar nod like Meryl did for the movie, Annie's performance was raved about by critics. Said Roger Ebert, Hathaway's performance captures the essence of a young woman navigating the fashion industry. And I mean, we live in a world where everything is just so exaggerated, all praise, but that was high praise for Roger Ebert because he was a real critic. Made with a $35 million budget, The Devil Wears Prada earned over $300 million at the global box office and became an instant classic, propelling Annie into the big leagues and onto magazine covers. Who can forget Miranda's monologue about the cerulean sweater on Andy's first day at the office? This film is just part of our millennial brains.
Groundbreaking, dare I say.
Absolutely. And it's funny because everyone talks about Rachel Sennett's new show, I Love LA, as the new girls. It's actually the new Devil Wears Prada. When I was watching this, I was like, oh, this has the DNA of Devil Wears Prada. It's like, what would that be for Gen Z? That's what the show is.
Oh, I need to watch this.
I need to sit with that comparison. Wow.
I mean, it's very different tone, but it's just what would this concept be for a Gen Z kid? That's my theory.
And in this case, Leighton Meester would be the Meryl Streep because Leighton plays her boss, which I'm obsessed with as well. Thank you, Sarah.
I think it works. When I saw that, I was like, Miranda Priestley energy. I get it. Millennial Miranda Priestley, because she would have to be a girl boss, Miranda Priestley today.
Oh, Jesus.
But as much as The Devil Wears Prada was universally adored, one wonders if this solidified Anne's reputation as a hardworking, nice girl. Because remember, this is one of her first sort of quote-unquote adult roles, right? And so it's really playing into your typecasting. And so I do wonder if this was maybe the reason why we got Half a Hate years later, if this laid the groundwork, right? Because she plays this earnest, hardworking girl who will do anything, even get a makeover to please those around her. Was she kind of like the straight A goody two-shoes that you knew in high school? Or maybe I was Annie. Like, this is me, right? If my boss told me, okay, I'm going to give you some inappropriate fashion advice because I'm not supposed to be commenting on your body or what you wear at work, I would still be like, yes, more please. I will do whatever you want. Okay? Just like me.
I mean, Alex, I'm curious. Who were you in high school? What role did you play?
Who was I? Oh my God. I wish there was a Teddy stereotype that I could have fit into. But I was definitely a tryhard of some variety. I went to school in Southern Georgia, and I am not a Southerner at all. And I am Wasian. There were so many ways in which I did not fit the culture that I went to school with. So I tried to figure out my ways. What that looked like was a lot of sports. I did a sport every season. I got 12 varsity letters in all of high school.
Oh, yeah, Alex. Okay.
Secret jock. And then I was in every honor society. I was in a bunch of clubs. And I started a club for nonpartisan political engagement. Huge air quotes here. And I ran voter registration drives on my campus.
Oh, wow. Good for you. Wow. I'm very impressed.
Yeah, I would have been such a fan of yours back then. Oh my God. I mean, still, but amazing.
But also it was I had the same homeroom class all the years, right? You would have the same homeroom class. Senior year, second semester, somebody was passing stuff out and they were like, Alex Laughlin, who's that? And I'm like, we've literally been in homeroom together for 3 years.
Okay, that says more about them, though, than it does about you, because, wow.
That's wow.
But I think that gives you a sense of where I stood in the hierarchy.
Yeah, it does. Oh my gosh. Okay, so Sarah, great question. Thank you. But I am going back through those years and I hate doing that because what a time. But I was definitely a tryhard. I wanted to be a goody two-shoes because my older sister was, and she was also straight A's, everything. And I just wanted to be everything she was. I was more of a fuck up, dare I say.
Aww.
And I didn't get the straight A's all the time. Well, you know what, though? I tried so hard. I joined all the clubs. I made clubs, too. I started a little baseball team with my sister.
Oh, cute.
I started a little... Yeah, it was really great. I started a little newspaper team. I was trying my best, and I feel like that added up, and I was a theater kid for sure, so I did all the things. But, yeah, I was around. Sarah, I want to hear about you, too, though. Who were you back then?
No one has ever tried harder than me.
I believe that. I believe it.
I won an award at my high school graduation for being the kid who liked school the most. I was basically bullied by my teacher. They had teachers, right? Because I got this award that, and I loved my school and I loved my teachers. And I still, I invited my history teacher to my wedding. I am that kid. I loved school. It was an all-girls school. It was very close-knit. I was an internationally ranked debater and public speaker. So I worked really hard at that.
Okay.
Yeah. doing that. So that was my big thing. I kind of left theater to do that. So I was a debate nerd, which is even, I would say, next level, because that really is all consuming, right?
Yeah.
You know, you're going to South Africa for a trip, things like that. I was such a nerd. I was such a high achiever. I was not a perfectionist because I was pathologically competitive. So that would interfere with winning. So my motto, this is awful, and I've disavowed this, but my motto was, it's not about winning. It's about beating everyone else.
Oh my God.
I was crazy.
You sound slightly demonic, Sarah.
Oh, I was nuts. I was insane. I was a crazy person. But that's like, I had some other good mottos. Like when I was trying to qualify for Team Canada to go to the World Championships for public speaking, I would always say, visualize. I would do sports psychology, be like, one of those spots is for me. One of those spots is for me.
Amazing.
So I was like, I tried really, really hard. Like my mom at sometimes would like take my homework away from me and be like, you have to stop doing it. Like, so that was me. I tried really hard.
Sarah, dare I say, I think Anne might have played you in a movie like a decade ago. This is wild.
I love Anne Hathaway because I feel like, you know, she's the only person I know who like tries as hard as I do, although she's definitely more perfectionistic. And I don't say this to like praise myself. Like, I try so hard. No one tries harder. I try so hard because I'm crazy. It's not like it's a flaw. It's a flaw, but I relate to that flaw in Annie. If I were naturally more talented, maybe I wouldn't have to try so hard. So anyway, I respect the fact that Annie puts an effort to be talented and that she doesn't just naturally have it. But here's the thing. Does anyone have talent without any effort? Does
anyone? I'm literally writing a book about this.
Really, Alex?
Yes.
I love this, Alex.
It's called
Say more.
The Talent Cult. It's coming out in like 2 years. So like, you know, stay tuned. But
yeah,
it's an examination of the role that talent plays in our culture and the ways that it both reflects and reinforces systems of power. So like, what is talent and does it actually exist? I went into this project thinking talent actually doesn't exist. That was my hot take. And the more that I have read and written and talked to people, the more I'm like, okay, like everyone's coming to the table with slightly different raw materials, you know?
Yeah.
So I found a more moderate place. But yeah, anytime this question of like working hard versus talent gets raised, I'm like, oh my God, it's book time. Let's go.
So I also teach competitive public speaking. And that's one thing I tell my students, like public speaking isn't a talent, it's a skill. And so anyone can learn it and anyone can be good at it. That's my take about it. But yes, now that I'm a mother, because I did my master's in gender studies, it was all about nurture over nature. And I was like, it's all nurture. And now that I have one, I'm like, it's probably 50-50, right? Like there are things that she's bad at because I'm bad at them. Like I have terrible balance no matter how hard I try. But she's also really super talented at some things that I didn't even teach her. Like she's a great storyteller and has a huge imagination. So I think for me, that really made me sort of, I guess, it moderated my views. I'm like, it's probably a little bit of column A and a little bit of column B.
Yeah,
that's
totally.
so fascinating how you see that through raising a child, too. You get this whole other perspective. Alex, I can't wait to read that. We got to have you back when you put it out.
Yes,
that's fascinating.
Absolutely. I can't wait to read it. This is such an exciting project.
Actively writing it right now. Literally.
Oh, God. I bow down. Writing a book scares me, so I'm impressed.
It scares me, too.
Fortunately, you're a try-hard. So
exactly. Try-hard energy. You can accomplish anything.
Yeah.
Try-hards unite. I love this episode. So I think it's time for a short break. We will have more Annie lore for you when we come back.
Not so friendly reminder that no one who's actually good at their job is the office bully. Like, at all. But we can handle that. For all of the no-fluff advice for getting ahead in your career without losing your mind, listen to Clock In with Emily Durham wherever you get your podcasts.
And we're back. Annie cemented herself as the princess of Hollywood High in the OOs. She even found herself a shady prince. Well, not a literal prince, but a rich guy who rented her private jets to the Dominican Republic and showered her with jewelry, all while defrauding investors by pretending to be the CFO of the Vatican.
My God. I can't even believe that, and it's true. My God.
I completely missed this entire part of her story.
Oh, yes. I'm talking about her boyfriend of 4 years, Raffaello Folieri.
Oh, Raffaello.
It's a hot name. Like, it's a sexy name.
It is.
He was the dude that she committed to for 4 whole years. This dude was apparently so committed, in fact, not just to her, but to his con, that he actually had ceremonial Vatican-style robes in his office. And I guess he took out the robes to look like a more credible Vatican executive. I don't know. Like, is that what you think your Vatican CFO, who's not a priest, would wear? I'm so confused by this con and the fact that Americans fell for this.
It's so diabolical. He had robes made. That's sinister. Ooh.
It's pathological. We're getting into like traumatic relationship experience territory, honestly.
Yes. So Folieri was arrested shortly after he and Annie broke up in 2008. She maintains she broke up with him before he was arrested, not after, slightly before. And you know what? Who knows what's true? Okay. You know, if she wants to lie and retcon their breakup, even if that's what she's doing, that's okay. Girl, you dated a criminal. If any of my friends were like, I dated a criminal, I broke up with him after he was arrested, but I'm going to say I broke up with him before, I'd be like, that's fine. I will never tell anyone your secret.
Oh, yeah. I'd be your alibi fully.
Exactly.
I'll be your accessory. I will support you. Like, I don't care if she's lying. That's fine. Get out of there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because he lied to her. So who cares if she's lying about when they broke up? Exactly.
You know, you'd think that being so entangled with a prominent criminal like this would lend her image a bit of edge. But for some reason, it just makes her seem more like pure-hearted and gullible.
I know. I know. She's so doe-eyed.
Yeah.
So he was later sentenced to 4.5 years in jail after he pleaded guilty to money laundering, wire fraud, and conspiracy charges. So Anne has made jokes about the situation in interviews, declaring to Vogue that fraud was now her dating deal breaker.
Wow.
Which is cute. It definitely had a scarring effect. She told W Magazine that the situation taught her to be, quote, more wary because she had been, quote, too trusting before. And I believe that. Okay, team, do we believe Annie didn't know at all that Raffaello was shady? Like, over 4 years, do we think that she never, ever suspected? If a guy on Tinder told you that his job was CFO of the Vatican, would you think that sounded a little sus? Or would you be like, yeah, that sounds legit. That's a job that I'm sure a guy on Tinder has.
He's like, I'm king of New York City.
Exactly.
Wild. I side-eye every man that I encounter on a dating app. I start from not trusting. I start at 0, right? You gain points from there. So I don't think I could have swallowed this. But at the same time, do I think that she knew? I don't know. I want to believe she didn't. I know there's so many people who are in relationships where they say they didn't know the entire time that their partner was a little shady. And I always want to believe them. But then I wonder, there had to be moments where maybe you were side-eyeing this guy and wondering, what was he up to? Like, there had to have been, right? I just assume so. But again, I'm going to let her get out of this clean. I just don't want her to be affected by it at all. It feels so naive.
Very naive. I think that he was almost certainly acting shady in a way that she either saw and chose not to say anything about, or maybe saw but like didn't fully want to believe what she was seeing. Love makes you do crazy things. People spend a lot of time with the wrong people because they're trying to make it work. I feel for her.
And it's really hard to say no to some of the things he was doing. Like, I think you'd want to believe it was legit. He was showering her with jewelry and private jets. And yes, private jets are terrible for the environment. But this was before we were talking about such things. So
okay.
I feel like you want to believe that you're not being showered with stolen goods or, goods that came from defrauded, money that he defrauded from people.
Yeah, she was having a fun time. I want to go back to what we were talking about earlier, too. I feel like it is so shocking that she got away so clean with this whole scandal, because it was a pretty big scandal, right? But for the most part, I don't remember anybody kind of throwing any dark light on her about any of this. She was so unscathed. It's kind of wild. Like, I don't know that another woman would get away with that now, but I don't know how that happened, and I have to assume it's because she had such a goody two-shoes personality, right? It saved her.
Because she would trick you. Not because she would trick you, because you see a girl like that who tries so hard and seems sheltered and seems so nice, and you think, Princess Mia wouldn't know this guy was bad news, right? That's what you're thinking. You're confusing her with her characters. If Megan Fox had dated this guy, people would not have given her the benefit of the doubt. Same thing with Lindsay Lohan, right?
Yeah.
With Lindsay Lohan, people would have said, she's obviously a criminal too, send her to jail, right?
Yeah.
Right.
She's the one in charge, actually.
Exactly. People would have vilified her more. With Annie, I think that this is why she survives the scandal. Even though her perfectionistic goody two-shoes image hurts her later, I think it's the only reason we still know who she is today, because she survived the scandal directly because of it.
Oh.
So being a try-hard goody two-shoes saved her from jail, essentially. Oh, amazing.
Okay, side note, I just looked up this man. Have you guys seen what he looks like?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He has such a sort of friendly, doe-eyed, rich man look, so clean cut. I would never. Well, you know what? That's not true. He's the kind of clean cut white man that I'd be like, you're either a nice guy or you are the most evil person in the world.
Well, I think he's a sociopath. I'm not a psychologist and I don't know him. So, I mean, this is not based on much other than the story about what he did to Annie. But I do think he's a sociopath, and sociopaths know how to present themselves as nice, clean-cut, charming men. He's very handsome. That doesn't hurt when you're a con man, right?
Yeah.
He's very handsome.
He's giving polished Zach Braff.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay. I like
Zach
that.
Braff went to prep school.
Okay. With a little bit of Italian in his DNA. I'm really into that.
Yeah.
By the way, guys, if you want to know more about this, we'll throw some links in the show notes. You can dig real deep because there's a lot of deep dives on this. And if you want to see what this shady, charming man looks like, click those links.
It's worth it. I mean, Annie thought he was super handsome. She's not wrong.
Yeah.
So
they look
Annie
great
survived.
together.
They do.
They're
a very beautiful couple. Very beautiful. Annie survived breaking up with a con man better than almost anyone ever has. The press seemed to buy her narrative that she was just too trusting. That really worked for her. She even received her first Oscar nomination for 2008's Rachel Getting Married. So basically, not even a year later, she's getting Oscar nominations. It almost made her more beloved. Like, that Annie, she's so school smart, life stupid, right? And that actually is definitely a thing. When you are a school smart girl, everyone's like, but not street smart. And I remember my parents always telling me that. My parents are like, you are street stupid, okay? Just because you are book smart, do not think that winning an academic award makes you street smart. You are dumb. You are going to be a victim to criminals. So they prepared me for dating con men. They were like, do not get sucked in. Annie's parents needed to do a better job, being like, you don't know anything about the world, Annie.
I love that. I'm seeing you as an Anne Hathaway more and more as we go on.
Anyway, well, except my parents would not have let me date the CFO of the Vatican. My dad, loves Vatican art, loves the Vatican Museum. He probably knows who the CFO of the Vatican is and be like, how dare you? He would have blown this wide open. He would have reported the guy to the police himself. Oh. Okay. So Annie kept climbing higher as the OOs transitioned to the 2010s. She made very sweet popcorn movies like Love and Other Drugs and One Day, while also getting cast as Catwoman in Christopher Nolan's The Dark Knight Rises. Meanwhile, she became engaged to her current husband, actor and jewelry designer Adam Schulman, in 2011. He can best be described as less hot Ryan Gosling, but he's not a criminal, so that's an upgrade. Good for her.
Absolutely.
In addition to all of these wins in her professional and personal life, Annie experienced a ridiculous low in 2011. I'm talking a moment so embarrassing, few of us could imagine it. She had to co-host the Oscars with James Franco. And as she would tell Andy Cohen years later, the experience sucked. She thought they sucked. It was just bad. Basically, the Academy wanted to address falling ratings for the broadcast of the Oscars by hiring hosts millennials had heard of, so not Billy Crystal.
Oh my
No
God.
offense to Billy Crystal. I mean, it was a disaster. James claimed not to have been stoned, but sure looked and sounded like he was stoned. The now-disgraced actor was so low energy that Annie, who was giving theater kid in every segment, came off as a tad too much by comparison. James later told David Letterman, quote, the Tasmanian devil would look stoned standing next to Anne Hathaway. he was acting in a way where he was trying to play the straight man to Anne, and that's why he was so muted. However, in my opinion, his behavior read like he was being a condescending asshole and just trolling the poor girl. By contrast, I believe poor Annie was simply putting in effort. She was trying so hard because she desperately wanted to please her peers and her role models in the academy. But also, let's not forget, it's the fucking Oscars. Aren't we supposed to take hosting them seriously? So, do you both remember the 2011 Oscars?
Of course.
What were your reactions at the time? Has your impression of this train wreck changed over the years at all?
No, I still think it's a disaster. Awful. Yeah, we're all nodding. I think, Sarah, you said it best. I thought that he came off very condescending. And mind you, and I'm embarrassed to say this now, okay, so everybody knows, but I was a James Franco fan back then. I have corrected my ways since. I have seen the light. I thought he was terrible, and I thought that they were poorly matched, and I think it's so unfair that she got oddly trashed for taking the gig seriously and doing her best. It's not fair, and I also feel like Hugh Jackman is kind of like a version of what Anne was trying to do, and he never got this kind of feedback. It's not fair.
Sing it.
Yeah, I think that moment, it so fully encapsulated so much of what was happening with gender and celebrity at the time, because James Franco was like the 2010s version of the performative male. You know, like he was this Renaissance man who like did stoner comedies, but also was really deep. And like, didn't he like teach a film class or something at NYU?
Yeah, those
like,
poor students.
And I think he like published a short story collection. Like he was everywhere in this way that everyone was just like so horny for. And in contrast, there's our friend Annie, who is simply trying to show up. And she is so penalized and punished by the public for trying. Whereas James Franco, despite being someone who definitely tries, if you look at his resume, all of the stuff he's trying to do, he's trying to cultivate this image of himself as this like stoner Renaissance man. But the most effective way for him to perform that is by acting stoned and like he doesn't care. And it's just so unfortunate.
That is so well said. You're so spot on. You know what it makes me think? If we go back to that high school analogy, he was like the cool guy, right? And she was kind of the theater kid, the dorky kid hanging out in the background. And I really hate when we breathe life into those kinds of archetypes now, and especially on massive stage like the Oscars, which she was obviously so thrilled to get to do, right? Like just as someone who's a fan of the craft, getting to be up there, getting to do hosting duties. And he obviously was like, I could care less, but I think you're right, Alex. I think he actually did care deep inside. He just could not show it because that's not his persona. That makes me angrier, actually. I never thought about it that way.
It's a huge gig. It was a huge gig for both of them.
Yeah,
absolutely. It was a good way to become a mainstream star for James Franco, who at that point, I think you knew him if you were under 30, you knew him if you were into art films, but I don't know if 45-year-old who didn't love art films would have known his name. And he kind of squandered it, but at the same time, he's a horrible person. So I'm okay with it.
Now we have Dave Franco everywhere. So you know, he's squeakier clean. And he also gives more transparent, try-hard energy, dare I say.
So hard.
He does.
I love it. He and Alison Brie, a couple of tryhards who found each other and found love. I love them. I love them together. So yet again, Annie survived this media blunder. She survived the scandal of the Oscars, which like actually became a scandal because it was so bad. She even returned in 2013 to win the Best Supporting Actress Oscar for portraying Fantine in the smash hit adaptation of Les Mis. But guys, this is when Hathaway entered the picture in a big way. Annie's acceptance speech was gracious, but it was also very earnest. She trembled throughout it and even started it off by gazing lovingly at her Oscar like it was a baby and murmuring, "It came true." Oh, she wore a weird pink dress that somehow became a scandal in itself because it had unfortunately placed darts. You can Google it to see what I mean. The dress was actually a last-minute choice because Amanda Seyfried had decided to wear something that looked a bit too similar to Annie's original Valentino gown. And I actually think it's very sweet that Annie didn't make Amanda change. She decided to change her gown. I actually think that's cute. Annie literally apologized afterwards for changing her gown and wearing the unfortunate pink dress to the Oscars. It was a whole thing. I would say this was the moment when Hathaway hate truly took off because bullies always look for someone weak, and Annie will always take the blame and say she's sorry even if it's just for an unfortunate ball gown. Okay? So this brings us to the phenomenon of Hathaway hate, which definitely reached its peak in the 2010s. It is, of course, a portmanteau of Hathaway and hate. The term was used all over social media because a lot of armchair critics didn't like Annie's earnestness or her quest for professionalism and perfection. And unfortunately for Anne, she was constantly being compared to the likes of Jennifer Lawrence, who was praised for being too cool to care. It's a comparison I find odd because I feel like Jennifer Lawrence did care very much. That's how she worked so hard to win an Oscar before she was 25. But anyway, the audience didn't think she cared. In the years since, Anne has been referred to as the theater kid cheerleader and has even been taken down on YouTube by Kirsty Fla, the Norwegian entertainment reporter who also hates Blake Lively. You can watch an interview they did to promote Les Mis where Fla sings her questions, which is really weird. And Annie isn't into it, so she responds with one-word answers. What's important to note, though, is Annie, after this was put on YouTube, did apologize. She sent an apology to Flaw, which Flaw seemed to really like. Flaw's kind of a sociopath, I have to say.
Yeah.
But it just proves my point. Annie will always apologize if you try to put blame on her. She will always take the blame. That's why I think people developed this Hathaway hate, because you can bully her. She will accept your bullying. It's kind of sad. In a 2013 interview between Howard Stern and James Franco, Howard suggested Annie is annoying because she seems scripted. And James ultimately agreed. He even chimed in on Hathaway hate, suggesting her demeanor, quote, triggers it. Personally, I would say Hathaway hate is mostly triggered by misogyny. That's just me. Alex and Sadaf, what do you think really inspired Hathaway hate? Was it Annie hosting the Oscars? Was it her winning an Oscar? Was it that she's a people pleaser who felt like low-hanging fruit? Was it the fact that society loves to hate on women for any reason it can find?
I just want to say I watched her speech this morning because I wanted to refresh myself, and it wasn't even that bad. It truly was not that bad. Like, calm down. But this bigger question of like where Hathaway hate comes from and why she inspires this cringy response in people, I feel like it gets to a bigger question of like, why do you sometimes feel like you just don't fit in? I feel like I really identify with her in a lot of ways because I am incredibly earnest and like I've tried not to be. I have tried to be like cool and cynical and like sarcastic, and I can make jokes, but like at the end of the day, my earnestness is like who I am. It's my North Star. It's how I move through the world, and that is just not cool.
Yeah.
Period. It's just not cool. It's maybe it could be admirable to some people or inspiring to some people, but what it isn't is cool. And I think people really, really want to have public figures who are cool. And so it's really uncomfortable to have a public figure who is not cool. You don't know what to do with them because you have this, if you're not on the same wavelength as them, you have this like instinctive reaction against them. You can't even like really put your finger on why you feel this way, but you're just like, ugh, I don't want to be like that. That makes me feel really sad because like it's the reason why, you know, I struggled to make friends in high school. It's that exact same thing that goes all the way up and down.
That's so beautifully said. And it breaks my heart because I think you're so spot on. And I felt like that a bit when I was in school. And Sarah, we know you did. it's kind of devastating that it can carry off even when you're an adult and even when you're on this massive platform and famous and you have fans and all these sorts of things. You can still get pulled down like this. Like, I get so disgusted remembering that Howard Stern and James Franco interview and the way they piled on. Like, Sarah, I think all of those questions the answer is yes. Like, she was low-hanging fruit for them, right? And there are these two guys who are like broing out over how annoying Anne Hathaway is. Really? You sound like assholes. But I also think there's a factor of this, and tell me what you guys think, but this idea that when you're an actor, an actor, capital A, there's just this magical place that your beautiful craft comes from and your ability. And James is definitely one of those people, right? Where he kind of had that sometimes he would go method and he liked having this kind of mysterious aura about how good he was. But with Anne, it's like, no, she really works at it. And she probably has a million sticky notes all over her script. And there's something about that, as Alex said, is just so uncool. And it's not as dramatic and fascinating and interesting, but it's also real. Like, I think there's something to be said about that. It reminds me of all of those women who will come forward and be like, yeah, who gives a shit about method acting? Like, just act, just do your job. Like, I feel like that's the same kind of dynamic.
Yeah, people are really uncomfortable witnessing effort, I found.
Ugh, yeah.
That goes into like my bigger research into the idea of talent, where it's like the idea of somebody being naturally talented at something is so seductive to us because it means that if you are not doing a thing that you want to be doing, it's not because you didn't do it. It's because you weren't given the talent.
Oh, I love that.
I think you guys are so spot on. Our society abhors effort to the point where that's why it's considered cringe to meet someone on a dating app because you were trying, right?
Yeah.
We want love to just find you, right? You accidentally took his order at your favorite indie coffee shop and then he said, that's my coffee. And you said, no, that's my coffee. And then you fell in love, right? Where I don't even know how that conversation would culminate in a date, right? I just don't even know what kind of game you'd have to get a date out of that. But that's what we want. We want everything to be easy, and any effort in any area of your life, whether it's your personal life or your professional life, is considered kind of cringe. But that's how you become successful, right? Whether you lie about it and pretend you didn't try, or you tell the truth like Annie does, that is the common denominator for successful people, as you pointed out so eloquently, Alex. James Franco was trying, especially when he was succeeding. He was putting in quite a lot of effort.
Yeah.
You don't become an actor without trying. Like,
No.
that is not a thing you do casually.
Yeah.
No, you don't spend 16-hour days on the set and not try.
Yeah.
You're not
Yeah.
like, oh, yes,
Amen.
I'm not trying at all. I'm just here all night for no reason.
Mhm.
It's easy.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think it's time for another short break. And when we come back, we will finish our discussion about Anne Hathaway.
Hi, everybody. Steve Paikin here. The world is changing fast, eh? I'm not sure I've ever experienced anything like it in my 40-plus years of journalism. Where does Canada fit in all of this? From federal politics to foreign policy to in-depth one-on-one interviews, we'll try to help you understand this uncertain era in which we now find ourselves. The Paikin Podcast. Find us on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts.
And we are back. It's time to talk Annie's comeback. She so easily could have fallen out of favor in Hollywood, especially after Hathaway reached its zenith. But because Annie is a professional, other professionals liked working with her, including Christopher Nolan. And I have mixed feelings about Christopher Nolan, but I do respect that he likes a hardworking person. In fact, she credits Christopher Nolan with saving her career when he cast her in 2014's Interstellar, referring to him as her, quote, angel. Annie later got to play against type in subsequent films like Ocean's 8, The Idea of You, and The Witches, where she portrays a really mean witch. Today, Annie is a mother of 2 young sons and still gets to appear on the cover of magazines. Now in her 40s, she remains one of Hollywood's most sought-after actresses. A sequel to The Devil Wears Prada starring Annie and Meryl will hit theaters in April of 2026. And the filming alone is getting the internet so riled up, right? It's already a hit. Okay, I haven't seen buzz like this since House of Gucci. I do hope it's better than House of Gucci.
Oh, it will be.
It will
Okay.
be.
Yeah.
But people love her style. They love her persona. She will also soon grace our screens as a pop star in A24's hotly anticipated Mother Mary. In an August cover story with Vogue, here's what writer Maya Singer had to say about Anne Hathaway. Here's the thing about Anne Hathaway. She is incredibly nice. That sounds like faint praise, but spending time with her made me question whether I'd ever truly met a nice person. I know many kind people, but you can be kind and also sometimes snarky, impatient, aggrieved, aloof, and so on. And no, I am not talking about myself. But Anne Hathaway is kind and nice. And I kept waiting for her mask to slip, for her to do something not nice. But she never did. Today, the pendulum has swung, and Annie has so many defenders that she even inspired a song by musical act Who Is She? It contains such lyrics as, I hate the way people treat Anne Hathaway. And I agree. I think we all agree. So why do we think public opinion has shifted? Did Annie change, or did we? Has society come around to the nice girl?
I think Gen Z appreciates someone like this now. And I think that's one of the many beautiful things about Gen Z, who I love so much and who deserve more credit. I think they appreciate earnestness and trying harder. And they don't think that it's weird or cringy like our generation did, or at least not to the degree that we did or have. And I think that's really wonderful. I think also, like I was saying earlier, a lot of her fans who stuck through, millennials like us, are just so happy to see her doing well and kind of having a little bit of a glow up, you could say. I mean, she's looking unreal. The style is just unbelievable. She's doing good movie after good movie. Like, she's just been on such a good, her momentum is incredible right now. And I don't think, Meryl Streep gets a lot of the credit for Devil Wears Prada also having a bit of pop culture momentum and carrying up till now. But I think Anne is a big part of that too, right?
I think also in the 2020s, I think we can say that now, we are 5 years in, there has been a larger project of reevaluating the women that we maligned in the past, in the 80s, 90s, 2000s, 2010s. We have reevaluated how we think about women like Monica Lewinsky and Hillary Clinton. I don't know why my brain is on Bill Clinton's women right now, but just as an example, like the podcast You're Wrong About got started in part as a show that was reevaluating our collective stories that we told about famous maligned people. And I think that the exercise of like questioning the story that you've told yourself for many years about a public figure like this has become a lot more common for just like regular consumers of media, just ordinary, regular people, to be like, hey, were we unfair about this person? Media literacy is maybe at an all-time low right now, but there's a type of critical thinking that people are doing when they're engaging with culture now. It's a sort of TikTokified gender studies, but it is more sophisticated than girl on screen is trying and she's dumb,
Yeah.
So I think that's going on.
I love that. And I mean, Sarah, that's how our podcast was born, right?
Yeah.
The Reheat. And I've had quite a few listeners since we've been doing this who will say to me, oh, I didn't see Britney Spears or
Yes.
Angelina Jolie or even like Whitney Houston, if we go way back in that way. I didn't even know that this is actually what was going on behind the scenes, or this is how she actually is. I think you're right, Alex. People kind of run with, or used to more so run with a headline, and that was kind of the end of the story, right? And I think what's so fascinating to me too is the way social media has changed, especially in terms of Anne Hathaway's career, right? And it's not that long a period when the Hathaway started and that Oscar moment with James Franco, she was torn apart all over social. But right now, social media loves Anne Hathaway. Like, she is one of the mascots of social media. It's fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
Sarah, what do you make of it?
Well, I mean, I think that being nice is back in vogue because there was a period where being nice wasn't fashionable, right? And these things are all cyclical. But at the end of the day, we will always find a reason to hate on a woman. now I think there are some people who are becoming more aware of that. And as you mentioned, Alex, defending her on social media. So I think that that's like the core of her fan base. It's people who are sick of this kind of misogyny. Women are damned if they do, they're damned if they don't. They're damned if they try hard. Somebody like Anne Hathaway. They're also damned if they have problems like Lindsay Lohan did in her 20s, right? I mean, Lindsay Lohan took forever to get her redemption arc, even though, I mean, she was just a kid who had a health issue. That's what addiction is. And people were so awful to her. So it's the flip side, right? We either want to treat you like we treated Lindsay, or we want to treat you like you treated Annie. The only woman we liked in this era was Jennifer Lawrence. And even then, I think she would probably tell you that that was never who she was, this girl who was just perfect without trying, right? Like she did very much try. That was media manufactured, right? And she probably has a lot of feelings about the fact that she was kind of weaponized against other women. I would actually love to sit down with her and say, how did it make you feel that people kind of used you as a prop for misogyny? Like, see, the perfect woman does exist. All of you guys be like her, right? That must have been so hard. And it was obviously tied up in, I mean, her whiteness, the fact that she was thin and had this sort of body that fit our beauty standards perfectly and was also super young, right? And just somebody like Anne Hathaway admitted that she tried, which is really honest. And I love that for her because it kind of made all the rest of us who try hard feel a little bit better. I always felt really inadequate that I had to work so hard. I thought that that must mean that I was a loser. Mm-hmm. And then I realized probably everyone is trying hard behind the scenes. We just don't know it.
Yes.
Oh, Sarah. Yes. I'm hugging you through the screen. Absolutely.
Yeah, I have this complex where I have a belief that I am incredibly messy and disorganized and just chaotic because I believe that's what my brain feels like. It is what my brain feels like. I'm not even going to say I believe, but I will tell my husband, you know, oh, I'm so messy. I'm so disorganized. And he will be like, I'm sorry. Look at your office. Look at your inbox. You are always at inbox 0. What's going on? And I'm like, no, it's because I am compensating so hard. I am trying constantly to work against my type B nature. And unfortunately, it always slips through and I always end up making a mistake. But the thing is, like, when I engage with another person who doesn't know that about me, they only see somebody who is competent, organized, tidy. And I don't know. I think it's helpful to remember that like everybody is doing that to some extent for different things.
Yeah. And it's really endearing. Like I love that about both of you.
Oh, this has been like therapy.
I know.
So this brings us to our final segment, Hindsight is 2025, where we choose the one moment that we might have handled differently if we were the subject of today's story. So Alex, because you're the guest, you can go first. What would you have done differently if you were Annie?
I think that during Half the Hate, I might have considered going on SNL and doing a sketch that completely leaned into making fun of the persona.
Oh,
that's smart.
I love that. Has Anne done SNL?
She
yes,
must
she
have.
She must have, right?
She has done SNL.
Yeah. Oh, I love that.
A sketch that is just explicitly like leaning into and making jokes about being a tryhard.
I think that's the thing. You have to always lean into the joke and own it a little bit because otherwise people are just going to assume you take yourself too seriously. But I love that idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's really smart.
Listen, I mean, we've showered this woman with so much praise this episode, but I must say, there's very few things I think that she should have done differently. I think she should have worn a different dress to the Oscars.
Yeah.
I did not love that number. And, you know, that will live on in history with her Oscar in hand.
Oh, sorry.
No, go on.
She said in an interview recently, she was like, I knew that it looked like my nipples were sticking out. And like, if she had just named that when she was on stage, it would have diffused all of the criticism of her. She would have been like, oh my God. Like, I mean, it's something Jennifer Lawrence would have done is like get up there and be like, I didn't think I would win. So I switched dresses and like, this is not the dress I wanted to win in. Oh my God.
Can you imagine though? if she got up there, she was like, it's not that I'm cold. I'm just really excited.
It would be so funny. And
It would be
then,
funny.
Like, that entire news cycle would look completely different.
Oh, that's so true. Yeah, I love that. Anyway, listen, I will say she's worn so many. Her style right now is in the best era of
so
all
fantastic.
time.
Yeah.
So she's fully reclaimed this horrible dress. So I love it.
It's one of those things, though. Like, I mean, I agree. I think she could have owned the press cycle. She'd made a joke about it. But, like, why win an Oscar wearing a subpar dress? If you and Amanda Seyfried are wearing similar dresses, you're playing mother and daughter in the musical. That's kind of cute. Pretend you did it on purpose. Lean into it. Pretend it's on purpose, right? It's a sort of a theme for the leading ladies of the movie. No one would have thought that that was a scandal if they'd looked similar. And again, this is the dress you want to win it. Wear a beautiful dress you're gonna love forever. Remember when Allison Janney won her Oscar wearing like her gold dress? She looked like an Oscar.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I guess if anything, have a very carefully thought out backup dress. But I also do think I agree with you, Sarah. Like, I think it's a bit tired and old to think nobody can wear the same outfit on the night of. But anyway, okay, Sarah, what would you change? I'm curious.
Okay, like, is this young kid going to be CFO of the Vatican? Like, really? Really? I'm sorry. I Googled the CFO of the Vatican. Apparently, that's not even the title they have. It's not even a real job title. So Google could have helped you with that. But
maybe
Google
she did.
CFO of Vatican. That's public information, right? And that's not just Annie. No one did this. He defrauded lots of people. No one used Google. There was Google at this time, right? So that to me is just very weird. And that's the one reason why I have a little bit of a hard time buying this story, because everyone's been Googling their boyfriends since Google was invented. That was the original purpose of Google, in my opinion, right?
Totally.
You Googled who you were dating.
Can you put CFO Vatican on your LinkedIn? Like, can you imagine? That doesn't feel right. Like,
it's not even the title they have. They have a more Vatican-y sounding title. There is a corresponding job. There is a similar job. But also, if you're the CFO of the Vatican, why would you be living in New York pretty much all the time? I don't get it. Wouldn't you be living in Vatican City or at least in Rome? Like, so many questions. So Annie, like, this makes me think she didn't really have a lot of female friends in this era. And I'm like, Annie, you need a female friend, because I would have sat down with my friend and been like, girl, this guy's a con man,
Get
right?
it together.
As much
Dump
as I am
him.
not a street smart person, I do know how to use the internet to some degree. And I think I could have told her. So Annie, like, that's the thing I would have done differently.
Yeah. Always do a background check on potential paramours.
Yes.
Especially if they have a job like that. Like, if a guy's like, I'm like a plumber. Okay, fine. But if he's like, I'm taking you to Dominican Republic on a jet with my money from being CFO of the Vatican. Check that out. Make sure it's not stolen funds, right?
Yeah. Well, now
Check it
we're in the
out.
era of Tinder swindler. So hopefully everyone listening, please do your diligence.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This guy is rich now, though. He's married and he's rich.
Is he?
He created like an energy empire, and he's doing fine. He's in Italy doing well. He's got a couple of kids.
What in the world?
And he's
Okay,
kind of
Rafaela.
bitter about Anne Hathaway because she never visited him in prison. I'm like, you lied to her about being a criminal. Why would she visit you in prison?
I'm proud of her for cutting clean, ASAP. She got out of there.
Yeah, boundaries, Annie.
Yeah,
like, she had
yeah.
them. Good job, right? Okay. This brings us to the end of what was a super fun episode. Alex, thank you so much for being a fabulous guest. We can't wait to read your book. It's been such a pleasure having you here. We love your love for Anne Hathaway. We love that this was a space for Anne Hathaway lovers, not Hathaway haters. So where can our listeners follow you and find your work?
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I am on all of the social media apps as Alex Laughs, which is a kind of embarrassing handle that I came up with when I was like 16. And unfortunately, that's the world of being a millennial.
Adorable.
It's cute.
Yeah.
Thanks. And then I also have a podcast with Defector and Radiotopia called Try Hard, where every episode I talk to somebody who is trying to do a thing that they never thought they could do, whether they have the natural talent to do it or not.
Love it.
I love. If you're a fan of this episode, I think you'll really enjoy Try Hard.
Yeah.
Please dig into it. Yeah, we will link to everything in the show notes. Check them out.
And if you'd like, you can listen to more of The Reheat for free on the Seeker app. You can also find the show on the Frequency Podcast Network or wherever you get your podcasts. If you would like to hear more from me, you can find me on Instagram at Sahagian Sarah. Sadaf, where can our listeners find you?
Listeners can find me on Twitter at _Staffason and on Instagram at Canada Horror. And if you liked this podcast, please rate, review, and subscribe so other listeners can find us too. And if you'd like us to keep growing, we'd love for you to support us on Patreon at patreon.com/The Reheat, where we've got so many goods in store for you. Thank you for listening.